Coach Gruden's is a new age condensed playbook, so I've mastered the first 1,000 pages, only got about 9,000 more to go.
Excited to know where we're going to be playing, and excited to have a city that is excited about having us.
We are now the Las Vegas Raiders.
Welcome back for another episode of Vegas Nation Blitz. Cassie Soto here alongside Vinny Bonsignore. Vinny, we are outside Raiders headquarters, getting closer and closer to the day where we can finally step inside. We're getting tested constantly, just as the players, to make sure everybody's safe and healthy. Vinny, I want to start this week's episode. We finally got to speak with tight end Jason Witten, longtime Cowboy. Still really weird to see that guy in silver and black, Vinny. But he spoke to the media and was more than excited about the veteran role that he is about to play for this team.
Yeah, and no question. And I think in that 15 minutes that we got with him this week, you saw what the Raiders wanted and what the Raiders identified as far as a veteran and a leader and a conscientious player that, you know, has been there, done that, and will offer all of that to a very young team as an embodiment of what it's supposed to look like. If you want to last in the NFL, if you want to be a guy that is going to be going to the Hall of Fame, if you want to be one of the best that ever did it at your position, that's what it's supposed to look like. And I was always impressed last year covering the Raiders when I did from November on about the intelligence and the conscientiousness of a very young team. Are they ready to lead? Probably not. They're not there yet, but there's an example that they can now tap into on a daily basis in Jason Witten, and I think we saw this week when we talked to him why the Raiders targeted him in free agency.
Yeah, well, you mentioned those young guys. How about a guy like Darren Waller? What can he learn from someone like Jason Witten?
Well, again, you want to be in the Hall of Fame? That's what it looks like on a daily basis. The work ethic, putting your head in the playbook, being there for for teammates, understanding your position. And Jason talked about how there's so much nuance to the position in terms of coverage, blocking, protection, all of those little things that go into taking your game from one level to another and being on top of all of those things. And I think that as good as Darren Waller is, he has plenty of room to grow, and that's a good thing. He's such a young player, and there's more room for him, a higher ceiling to get to, and I think somebody like Jason Witten is going to help him get there.
Well, Jason Witten, the new guy, but getting comfortable already with his team, making a joke about Gruden's playbook.
You know, Coach Gruden's is a new age condensed playbook, so I've mastered the first 1,000 pages, only got about 9,000 more to go.
What did you think about that?
Yeah, that was pretty funny, and it's not unusual when you talk to I remember asking John Gruden last week about the playbook in the red zone. He's like, the playbook is thick enough. There's plenty enough plays. And sure enough, as Jason Witten confirmed, there's thousands upon thousands of plays in John Gruden's playbook. He was, I'm sure, exaggerating just a little bit, but suffice to say, John Gruden's playbook is pretty darn thick.
Well, we also heard from one of the newest linebackers on this team, Nick Kukowski, and he, was asked, this is the first time that he's really had a role like this. He's going to be the play caller on the defensive side of the ball. What do you think about how ready he is to step up in this role for the very first time?
Well, timing is everything in life and in the NFL. Nick got 7 or so games last year to start out of a injury situation with the Chicago Bears, and put everything out there on film. He was a high-level, high-caliber player, and I think he's now coming into his own. That experience last year of starting is going to serve him well. I think he's ready now to take his game to another level, and what I like about him is he knows what it looks like. A good defense. He's played on a great defense the last few years with the Chicago Bears, so if you want to figure out, hey, how good are the Raiders' defense, and ask him his impressions on this team compared to the Bears, he has a great reference points in the Chicago Bears defense, which was outstanding.
Well, you mentioned the Chicago Bears defense and asking for, advice on things. Well, Nick mentioned that he's reached out, Khalil Mack, former Raider, reached out to him, and he asked for any advice, but there wasn't really any to give there.
Well, I'll tell you this, the turnover rate in the NFL is so incredible. There's really not much for Khalil Mack to say about this team. He never played for John Gruden. He never played under Mike Mack. He certainly hasn't played in Las Vegas. There's only a handful of players that are still here. So really, honestly, when you think about how fast things move in the NFL and how quickly rosters turn over, especially the bad one that John Gruden inherited, there's nothing for him to really speak on whatsoever, because it's a whole new world with the Las Vegas Raiders compared to the Oakland Raiders that Khalil Mack left.
Well, last one for you here, Vinny. Monday, August 17th is circled on everybody for the Raiders. On their calendar, it's the first day that these guys are going to be in pads. What do these next few days look like for them as they prepare for that day?
Well, what's interesting is practice is starting today, the first ramp-up practice of actual football. And ironically enough, today was the day that the Raiders were going to have a short practice, get on a plane, and head to Seattle to play on Thursday against the Seattle Seahawks to kick off their preseason, when in fact that was what it was supposed to look like. What it is looking like is they haven't even gotten into their pads yet, and they will get there on Monday. It happens to be John Gruden's birthday, special birthday for him, but then they'll have 14 days of padded practices that'll take them right to the cusp of their season opener against the Carolina Panthers, literally right to the beginning of the preparation week for the Carolina Panthers. So things are happening fast, and they got to get on it as quickly as they can, because 14 practices is not a lot when you're talking about all the changeover that they've had defensively, some of the new young players that they're bringing in. It's got to happen in a hurry, and that process starts on Monday.
All right, well, we can't wait for that. Vinny, thank you so much as always.
Absolutely.
In other news, the Mountain West Conference, which includes UNLV, postponed its football season indefinitely due to COVID-19. Running back Lamar Miller agreed to terms with the New England Patriots. The former Houston Texan missed the 2019 season with a knee injury. And Washington owner Dan Snyder said in a court filing that a former employee took money to help spread damaging information about him. As far as how things are going on the Raiders' social media front, the team posted a video that should get fans extremely excited for the day Henry Ruggs III steps on the field for real. You can see Derek Carr throw the ball from about 20 yards out, and Ruggs leaps up for the one-handed grab. And I know it's just practice, but it's still great to see the athleticism coming from the Raiders' number 12 overall pick. And speaking of Derek Carr, the current QB paid his respects to former QB and Hall of Famer Ken the Snake Stabler by wearing number 12 to practice the other day. Stabler, of course, led the Raiders to a 32-14 victory over the Minnesota Vikings in Super Bowl 11 back in 1977. And if you remember last season, Carr broke Stabler's 40-year record as the franchise's all-time leading passer. Stay with us. We'll be right back. Which team did the Raiders beat in the 1967 AFL Championship? Was it A, the Boston Patriots, B, the Buffalo Bills, C, the Houston Oilers, or D, the New York Jets? Stay tuned for the answer.
All your listeners and followers, the best name of any podcast in the world is podcast.
It doesn't make good television if they walk in the door and be like, no.
We believe we can make absinthe work.
Whoa, I didn't order that. Did you just say that?
Tom Brady. And Tom Brady, he's a quarterback in the Boston area.
I'm not sure who you're talking about.
Cassie Soto here for Vegas Nation Blitz, where we bring you Raiders fast takes, smart coverage, and Raiders player interviews. Joining me this week on Vegas Nation Blitz is Las Vegas Raiders safety Erik Harris. Erik, how's it going?
It's going well. It's we're adapting to the heat and different climates and everything, but it's been really nice.
Perfect. Well, I appreciate you taking some time, so let's go ahead and jump right into it. How has training camp been for you? I know it's unlike anything you've ever experienced before. I'm sure, I think, all these new policies that they have spacing you guys out. I think they're making you guys wear bracelets that beep if you're standing too close to one another. How has it been handling all of that?
Yeah, it's definitely been different. We reported, but you couldn't go into the facility. So, it's all been different, but, the schedule they have set for us, all the protocol stuff, it's been amazing. In the weight room, literally you touch the dumbbell and when you walk away, they're wiping it down real fast. So it's really a collective chain of people just working together and coming together just to be in the same schedule and holding each other accountable as far as, just trying to social distance.
Well, with all of that being said, Erik, I do have to ask, did you ever consider, you sit down with your wife and your family, consider opting out this season because of the pandemic going on right now?
I would say there was some health concerns, but as far as opting out, that was never really an option for me. I'm sure a lot of people may know my journey. If you don't, it took me a long time to get to where I'm at. So that's not really who I am as far as opting out. I just felt like I have a lot to prove still. So that's what really kept me going. But I definitely took my family's health in consideration. And obviously, we're still making adjustments as far as not putting our kids in school and still doing virtual school. So shout out to my wife for being a homeschool teacher and a mom.
Well, you mentioned, Erik, you did not have a traditional road to the NFL. So I have to get your take here on do you feel for these undrafted free agents who are going to get cut, unfortunately, before they get the reps in, before they get to throw pads on and show that they have something to offer to NFL teams?
Yeah, obviously I can sympathize for those guys because preseasons they're big for those guys, and obviously I was in their shoes. And you know how it is today where they cut the 90 down to 53 after the fourth preseason game. You see a lot more undrafted guys playing all 4 games, where, you know, the Rams last year and a few other teams didn't even play any of their starters in any of the games. So it's a lot of film for guys, and obviously the film travels. So it's going to be tough for undrafted guys, and, you know, they're going to probably look at vets to plug in because they know the speed of the game and they can pick up the playbook and stuff like that. So just encourage those guys to keep working and let things play out the way they play out.
Well, we can't have you on and not talk about your breakout season last year, Erik. You had over 60 tackles, 3 interceptions, 2 touchdowns. What was it about last season that had all those pieces come together for you, and what expectations are you now setting for yourself here for the very first year in Las Vegas?
Just being ready when the opportunity presented itself. That's how I kind of always approached every situation. Even when I wasn't starting, like, I could be thrown in at any time. And even for the guys this year, young guys, you know, second string guys, like, everybody has to be ready to be a starter this year. You never know when things might pop up and the virus, next thing you know, the starter's down and you're up. You know, you never hope injury on anybody, and obviously not the virus on anybody, but it's real. And so I was just prepared and just try to make the most of my opportunity and try to make the guys around me better when I step on the field. And that's what I pride myself in, my film study and just making those around me better.
Well, you mentioned those around you, and you've got some big names obviously coming back. Hopefully a healthy Jonathan Abram with you this year, with the addition also of Demarius Randall, Jeff Heath, Damon Arnett, Amik Robertson, to name a few. Does this secondary, do you feel, finally have the talent that it needs to put that narrative behind it of what it's been these last few seasons?
Yeah, I mean, you can keep going with that list. You know, Marcus Joyner's in there, Nevin Lawson. There's so many. We have so much depth, and depth is a good thing. Obviously, like we just talked about, injuries and COVID, and, you know, the better your second string, third string guys are, and there's going to be injuries. So you can just keep the train rolling like nothing ever happened. And the chemistry is the biggest thing. And, you know, with the whole COVID thing, I think the veteran teams that have kind of similar players coming back and not so much turnover coming back, they might have a little bit of advantage of that, you know, just the chemistry part of things. And but I think we've done a great job in the off season and Zoom meetings and getting everybody on the same page, and walkthroughs have been great.
Yeah. Well, final one for you here, Erik. For me, it has been made official that no fans will be able to cheer you guys on this year at that brand new, beautiful Allegiant Stadium. Your thoughts on that, and how weird it'll be to play in an empty stadium or in a stadium where they're pumping in crowd noise?
Right. It's definitely going to be different. Obviously, this league is nothing without the fans. So we know that. And, you know, I take in consideration, you know, no fans means no jobs for other people that are working in there. So I sympathize for that. And so it's going to be different, but it is what it is. And we got to make the most of it. And hopefully things get better and maybe they can go back and we start adding people in.
All right, Erik. Well, thank you so much. Best of luck to you, training camp and this season.
Yeah, thank you.
Once again, that was Las Vegas Raiders safety Erik Harris. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
The new and improved Vegas Nation app has all your Las Vegas Raiders news, videos, podcasts, stats, standings, stadium progress. Download now in Google Play or the App Store.
The answer is C. The Houston Oilers. Daryl LaMonica threw for 2 touchdowns, and George Blanda kicked 4 field goals as the Raiders beat the Oilers 40-7.
Welcome back to the Vegas Nation Blitz, everybody. It's Heidi, Fang, your Vegas Nation podcast host, and I'm here with our NFL writer and Raiders writer, Adam Hill. We're going to talk a little bit about what we expect in the AFC West coming up this season as we start to look at the teams that started from worst to the best in the AFC West. So that means we're going to start with the Los Angeles Chargers this week. Adam, I want to talk to you first about who do you think is going to need to be their impact player for this team to do well?
Well, I think it's a mad scramble for second place in the division, right? Everybody kind of assumes the Chiefs are going to win again. They're going to be the runaway winner in the division, but it's the Raiders, the Chargers, and the Broncos kind of fighting out for second. And I think the key, if the Chargers are going to be a playoff type of team this year, if they're going to take that next step, is their starting quarterback, Tyrod Taylor. He's a guy that I've talked about a lot over the years. I think he's a legitimate starting quarterback in the NFL. And the reason he's so important is he's the quarterback as long as they're in the race. So if he plays well and they stay in the race, he's going to keep that job. He's going to hold off Justin Herbert. Herbert goes in as soon as they're out of the playoff race. So to me, Tyrod Taylor is that impact player that if he's playing well, if he's taking them into victories, he keeps the job. And that's the kind of guy you want to watch to see if they're having success this year.
All right, now let's talk about a position player or group that needs to do well here in the team as well, like to improve upon last year for the Chargers to do better.
Yeah, well, I don't think you're going to see a lot of improvement, but Austin Eckler had a fantastic year. Now he's the man. He's going to have to do that again, so he's a guy to watch. But to me, the MVP kind of guy to watch for this team, Joey Bosa. He controls so much of what that defense does. They've got a ton of defensive playmakers all over the place, but their defense starts with that pass rush. And Joey Bosa's not alone, but he just got the big payday. A lot of it's going to be expected of him. He's going to have to be an MVP-type player if they're going to have the success they want.
All right, great stuff, Adam. And now let's take a moment to look back on Raiders history as we check out this moment when they had the last dirt infield in the NFL, making history for the NFL and the team by leaving that behind on this moment in Raiders history. As the Raiders head into their pristine new home that has its own field tray of grass that will be hauled into Allegiant Stadium on game days, a piece of sports history will die along with the move. The Oakland Coliseum held the distinction of being the last place to have a multi-purpose stadium for baseball and football. The Oakland Raiders football team and the Oakland A's baseball team were the last teams to share a playing ground. While it used to be fairly common practice for both sports to share a stadium, by 2017, Jack Del Rio, who was then the Raiders head coach, told the Las Vegas Review-Journal it's a little embarrassing to play on the cinder block. We'll tolerate it when we have to, but we're definitely looking forward to having a full field of grass. Most players would often complain about landing on the hard surface with no cushion when being tackled. Though the Raiders played their first game in the Oakland Coliseum September 18, 1966, it wasn't until 1968 that they would have to share their field with the Athletics, who had just moved there from Kansas City. From 1968 until 2019, the Raiders would play on the dirt infield through the earlier part of their season. The final game to be played on the dirt in NFL and Raiders history took place between the Oakland Raiders and the Kansas City Chiefs at the Oakland Coliseum on September 15, 2019. Patrick Mahomes led the Chiefs to a victory over the Raiders, 28-10. And that'll do it for this moment in Raiders history. We'll be back next week.
Ready for every Raiders game with us. Vegas Nation Game Day will give you everything you need to know about each week's matchup.
I'm excited.
Vegas Nation Game Day coming to you on Sunday, September 13th at 9 a.m. for the Raiders season opener versus the Panthers.
All your listeners and followers, the best name of any podcast in the world is podcast.
It doesn't make good television if they walk in the door and be like, no.
We believe we can make absinthe work.
Whoa, I didn't order that. Did you just? What? Yeah, did you just say that?
Tom Brady. And Tom Brady, he's a quarterback in the Boston area.
I'm not sure who you're talking about.
The road ahead for the Las Vegas Raiders was supposed to include thousands of fans and tailgates all over the city, but unfortunately, Raiders owner Mark Davis did announce that fans will not be able to attend games at Allegiant Stadium this year. Welcome back to Vegas Nation Blitz, everyone. I'm your host, Cassie Soto, alongside Allegiant Stadium insider Mick Akers. Mick, I think it's pretty safe to assume that home games this year for the Raiders were going to be sellout crowds, but we're learning now that the Raiders will be among the hardest hit with ticket revenue loss this season. Can you tell us more about that?
Yeah, so obviously, moving into the Allegiant Stadium, brand new 65,000 seat, $2 billion stadium. A lot of people are excited about that. Obviously, they sold out PSLs and season tickets, so money, is tied in there. So they're going to be among the top third hit, according to Forbes. I talked to Michael Ozanian. He's the guy that puts together their annual valuation list. He said he doesn't have the exact numbers yet. He's putting together the new list that comes out next month. But he said, the Raiders are going to be among, the top third of the NFL hit, with ticket revenue. They were going to be 31st, dead last, actually, if they based those numbers off Oakland, which they had a list put together in May showing that. So I reached out and I was like, that can't be, true anymore with the Allegiant Stadium. So he's like, yeah, you're right. It's going to be the top third now. Ticket IQ, ticket broker site, has it at 571 million, which, it's out of 7 billion out of the entire NFL. So, that's a big chunk of that. So they're going to be hit pretty hard. But, Mark Davis said, hey, we can wait another year. We've already waited this long.
Mick, we do know that crews hit that July 31st substantial completion date, but there's still some finishing touches to be done over at Allegiant Stadium. Can you give us an update from the site?
Yeah, so a lot of the work, is going on inside that we can't see from the outside. Just, finishing touches, putting up some furniture. Saw they're putting a bunch of sponsorship signs up, like Modelo and all those companies that found sponsors and such. And then obviously on the outside, everyone's waiting for the big media mesh screen to go live. Crews are, about done with that installation. There's a couple small square patches that, they need to be filled in. I think they're doing some wiring work in there. So, that's supposed to go live by the end of this month. So, a lot of people are waiting for that thing to light up, with the strip right there. A lot of people just drive by and you kind of see it, but it just, when that thing's going to be, bright and light, it's going to be a pretty cool feature there. And then obviously the sign right next to it, the main marquee of the Raiders has the Raiders emblem on both sides and, a nice little video screen as well. That still hasn't lit up yet. Yesco has been out there, kind of getting that ready. So I would assume that's going to be done just, about the same time as the media mesh. So once that's up, everything as far as exterior is going to be done for the Raiders Stadium.
Mick, thank you as always for the updates.
Thank you.
Well, that is a wrap for this week's episode of Vegas Nation Blitz. But as always, you can check us out at vegasnation.com or download our free Vegas Nation app where you'll find up-to-date stories, videos, and podcasts, everything you need to know about Raiders training camp at vegasnation.com. You can also give us a like on any of your favorite social media platforms. And while you're at it, check us out on YouTube. For our Vegas Nation crew, I'm Cassie Soto. We'll see you next week.